Let's talk about the top 5 instruments for young musicians. In this section, I'm going to try to show you what instruments we think are the best for young kids. But before we get to that, if you are a tablet family, here is a quick list of some of my favorite iPad apps for young musicians. Some of these are free, some of them are not. Some of them are instruments, some of them are more curriculum or games. If you are a tablet family or if you're planning for a road trip or a long airplane ride, these instruments and these games will help your kids to explore music a little bit more digitally on the go. We could spend hours talking about iPad apps, but let's move on to the top 5 instruments for young kids. Coming in at number 5 is the instrument that I grew up playing the most, the drums, and it's kind of simultaneously the best and the worst instrument for young musicians. Let me explain. It's the best because it's loud and it's fun and it's easy to play. When I have my drum students come in for the first time, we put on We Will Rock You and I have the kids play boom, boom, ja, boom, boom, ja. That's a pretty easy thing for anybody to follow. Even my special needs students will hop on that one super fast, and it's super repetitive, so it's easy to latch onto. And there's really no question of what note do I have to play. It's just this low drum and this high drum. Usually I use a floor tom and a snare drum. Boom, boom, ja. Or you can use the kick drum if you're ready for them to be using their feet. And so it is great because it's super easy and high energy and fun, and you don't need to know a lot about music to be playing the drums pretty well. But there's a massive piece missing, and those are the musical notes. I grew up as a drummer and a pretty impressive one at that, but when I got to music school in college, I got absolutely wrecked by my music theory class and my oral comprehension class. And anytime I had to sing in front of a group, I basically had a small heart attack. And all of that made me realize that as much as I loved and studied music, I was really only focused on rhythm and really technical elements of playing the drums. And I totally missed out on chords or on melodies or on anything to do with pitch, which really is the vast majority of music. This is where a lot of drummer jokes come from, and there is some truth to it that drummers are kind of in a different league. They do a lot of physical and difficult and exciting musical things, but they are not really using pitch or their voices, and most other instruments do rely pretty heavily on pitch and chords and all the things that come from having the actual musical notes. This brings us to the 4th best instrument for young kids, the ukulele. Why the ukulele? Well, it's basically a guitar, which almost every kid who comes to me wanting to learn music wants to learn the guitar, but it's a lot smaller and a lot easier to play. To play a chord, you only need to press one string, as opposed to the guitar, where you very often have to press 3 or 4 or even all 6 strings at once. It's also super small and easy to play in the sense that it's not very physically demanding on the hands. These are nylon strings, so they're softer on your fingers. They're not going to blister or hurt as fast. And the neck is thinner, so it doesn't take a ton of pressure or hand strength to play an individual note. Furthermore, if you play the open strings, it's not really a chord, but it's not far away from a chord either. Whereas the guitar does not really sound good until you learn lots of different positions and until you learn lots of different techniques. So if you have a young musician who is interested in playing the guitar, get them to play the ukulele instead. It's a better place to start, and all the skills you learn on the ukulele will transfer to the guitar very, very well. It kind of goes without saying, but by having an easier instrument, your kids are going to be more successful faster, they're going to learn more songs, they're going to feel more confident, and that's going to get the ball rolling on their music education, as opposed to giving them a difficult instrument to start, and then they're going to feel overwhelmed, they're going to get frustrated, their hands are going to hurt, it's going to be no fun, and they're not going to get that kind of momentum that they need to become an amazing young musician. Coming in at number 3 is kind of a category of instruments. I'd say it's anything that's color-coded, like this boomwhacker or like this xylophone. That is not actually the desk bells. So let's break it down real quick. These boomwhackers are really popular. They're musical tubes that you hit. They're really fun to play, but it's hard to play more than 2 or 3 notes at once. So you get the advantage of an easy instrument that is color-coded, which is great for kids, but you get the disadvantage of not really being able to play lots of notes at once. If I want to play a bunch of notes in the bells, I can do that. If I want to play a bunch of boomwhackers at once, that's pretty hard. Now, these mallet instruments or any kind of xylophone that are also color-coded are going to be a big win. The colors are there, the sound is there, you can play a couple notes back to back pretty easily, but you need to use a mallet to actually strike the instrument, which introduces another element, another component. You might hit the wrong note, and that's okay, but it's just kind of decreasing your child's chance for success as compared to with these bells that you just have to hit and then they ring out. So coming in at number 3 is anything that's color-coded with the chroma notes, but that's not quite as easy to play as these desk bells. Coming in at number 2 is arguably the number 1 instrument in the world, the piano. It's the most universal instrument. It has the widest range. It's what's used for composition and for any kind of film scoring or any kind of notation on the computer. And any musician going through any kind of musical study will have to spend some amount of time on the piano, almost guaranteed. With the guitar, which is also really popular, you have notes that repeat and patterns that kind of overlap, which can get confusing. But with the piano, it's all laid out in a straight line. There's only one of each note, and it makes it really easy to see chords and to memorize melodies. And you've also got some really low notes and some really high notes, and you can play it with 2 hands, and it's not that hard to make a sound either. You just gotta press the key. So the piano really is kind of the premier instrument for everybody to learn. It's really the best place to go if you want to just learn about music theory or music in general, because that stuff is kind of harder to visualize on a guitar. So coming in at number 2 is the piano. Now, why isn't it at number 1? Well, for starters, it is a black and white instrument, which is difficult for young kids, and it's very easy to play lots of notes and not even know what they are. You could smash all the keys, you could be hitting everything, making crazy sounds, and you don't even know what you're doing. You won't remember what you played. You could find a melody one day and then not be able to find it the next day, and it's just easy to get lost in a sea of things that look pretty much the same. It also requires a certain amount of fine motor control to just play individually with each finger, and most kids don't have that control until age 4 or 5 or 6, which is typically when most piano lessons start. That brings us to the number 1 instrument for young kids, the C major desk bells, or the chroma notes desk bells. I got my first set of these when I was a music teacher with my own studio, and I swear that the moment I opened them, my whole world changed. I had been using boomwhackers in all of my classes for years, and I was kind of frustrated with the limitations of the boomwhackers. You can only get 1 or 2 notes. They're big, they're clunky, they don't ring out and have a really good tone. They're kind of just like thunky. They sound cool, but if you're trying to sing that note, there's not really a lot of sustain to latch onto. So when these bells arrived in the mail, I opened them up and put them on my counter, and my mind was absolutely blown. And since that day, I've sold over 20,000 sets of these, and my whole life has largely been based around teaching kids how to play this instrument. It's a wonderful instrument. It looks cool. It sounds great. It's really easy to play. It sounds amazing. It has long sustain, and you can isolate the individual notes. I can give a kid red and yellow. I can give another kid green and purple. And now we have a 1-4 jam or a C-F jam. Okay, you play. Okay, stop. Your turn. Okay, stop, your turn. And you can do those kind of activities really easily with these bells. Plus, they're really well tuned and durable, and they are a fraction of a cost of similar instruments for the classroom. If you're looking at Orff xylophones or Orff marimbas, they can be $500 or $1,000 just to get some notes that your kids can hit that will sound good. These are gonna be anywhere between $70 and $100, and they're gonna sound great for a very long time. Furthermore, they are labeled with the note name as well as the scale degree, so you can do a lot right out of the gate. Hey, can you put them in order like a rainbow? Or can you put them in order numbers 1 through 8? And now right out of the gate, as soon as you open the box, you can be doing awesome musical activities. Depending on what class I have, very often we take the bells out by singing hello to each one. Hello, red. As they take it out, they set it up, get out the orange one. Hello, orange. And then when we put them away, we do the same thing. See ya later. We put it away. B ya later, and we put it away. A ya later, or we can do like a goodbye teal, or anything like that, where you're just singing hello and goodbye to the individual bells. And that's gonna make it really fun to set them up and put them away. And your kids will be cleaning up while also getting some exposure to the fundamental building blocks of music. I get that it can feel a little pluggy that I'm saying that this is the #1 instrument because it's an instrument that I sell, but you do not have to buy them from us. Just search for Chroma Notes desk bells online. The SKU is CNDB. These are essentially the same exact bells that we sell as the Prodigies bells. We just have ours in a different box and branded for our company. But again, it's basically the Chroma Notes desk bells that you are looking for. If you buy bells from us, thank you for supporting our small family company. Also, our bells come backed by a 2-year, 3-bell replacement policy built in standard, which is pretty cool and pretty different from the other places that sell these bells. So there you have it, the top 5 instruments for young kids. Working with any of these instruments in the ways I've outlined will increase your child's chance for success tenfold. And if you're looking for fun ways for them to engage with this, make sure to enroll in Prodigies, prodigies.com/monthly, and then head over to the resources area. We have tons of colorful printables and bell mats and all kinds of games and activities that will help you and your kids explore these instruments even further. As always, happy musicking, and until next time, I will see ya later, see ya later, see ya later.